Hey, good morning. I thought I would make a little video of this because until we purchased this beautiful 2022 Wonder RL Leisure travel van, I had never had an RV, and dumping was one of those things that was a little scary to me. So this basically I'm going to take you through the process and show you how simple this is. We have a macerator pump and a macerator toilet. Not all RVs come with that. I have never had any experience with a stinky slinky, so here we go. And I mean, you can always wear gloves. When I first started, I did wear some gloves. This is our hose. It's one of those things where gloves are really hard to clean. And so if you're gonna wear gloves, I would recommend wearing a pair of disposable gloves you can just throw away. That's our hose for our discharge. This is my black hose for my water. Our vehicle comes with a, it's called a sani system. So basically like a sanitation system. So once I'm done dumping, I'm gonna run that sanitation system until my liquid comes out of there clear. So basically I'm hooking in this water that's usually always available near the dumping stations into my saniflush system. And again, I mean, if you have one of these rigs, you might do it a little different, but I've found that I do it the same way every time. So now I know my hose is working. So when I want water in my rig, I have it turned off right now. It'll be there and ready to go. I'm gonna pull my black valve first, which is under here. And then I'm gonna turn the macerator pump on. So it's gonna be a little bit louder. And what I'm listening for is when the pump starts to, you'll see the, let me just turn it on. And you can see the liquid filling into the line. And I just try to make it as flat as I can so it's all running downhill. Again, it's just going to empty out the line a little bit, you know, using gravity as well. And then what I'm listening for is I'm going to notice that my black discharge line starts to get a little bouncy, which means it's going to have less liquid coming out. Macerator pumps don't like to run dry, so then I'm going to open my gray tank. And the whole process is just, our tanks are both about 3/4 full now. We've been here for almost a week, and so it just really depends on how much is in your tank. And you'll see what happens to the line, and you'll hear the sound. And again, nothing in this process, there's nothing dirty about it. You can see that inside my tank area, I have some disinfectant lights. So once I am done, not only will I clean my hands, I'm also gonna wipe the end of the hose. But the hose really is just, I mean, a couple inches or so, 3 inches maybe, are in the actual kind of hole there. So, I mean, it's really not that bad of a process. You can hear everything staying about the same. Nothing's moving in my discharge line. I do have a very simple connector. If for some reason I need to go further away to dump, you can connect more than one of these flexible hoses together. So it's just a really simple bushing and another hose. I have 40 feet or so, basically. And then, again, like I say, I'm just listening. This is where we should have a little music playing. Usually Jess and I, if it's flat enough, or if we're not in the way and people are waiting, usually this is when we'll also hook up our car. So once we're done dumping, hear that sound and see that line? Now I'm gonna pull my gray. And then what you're gonna notice is as soon as I see how I pulled my gray, now it's full again. And now we're gonna do the same thing to know when we're done and my gray is empty. So anyway, basically what usually Jess and I do is we will hook up our tow vehicle while we're doing this process. So dumping is done and our tow vehicle is all ready to go. Today, she's functioning as a wonderful camera person. Now, I don't know, Jeff, can you see over here in the controls at all? What I'd like to see is to let people see, so I have my water on here, but in my actual unit bay over here, the valve is closed. So this hose is going to allow this water to come into the Sani system, where there's little sprayers that kind of come around like that, from what I understand. And those actually kind of flush out and clean out the inside of both of my tanks at the same time. So once I notice this hose and that sound doing the same thing that it just did when the black tank was empty, I will open that valve and allow that water to start coming in there and spraying and cleaning that out. And then I'm gonna let that run for just a couple minutes. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually, once I've let it run for a couple minutes, I'm gonna take a look and run it until the water is clear. Which means I know, you see how I'm starting to move here a little bit? Okay, so I'm gonna turn that water on. Here we go. So I'm feeding the system water, fresh clean water that's going into both of my tanks. Now it's coming out to discharge. Both of the valves stay open while you're doing this. And it's just running through the tanks doing its thing. The only thing you have to be careful of is if for some reason the water pressure at the, where the dumping area, you just have to make sure that you're not over pumping that. If you are, then what I might have to do is run a little bit of it, shut the pump off for a second, let a little run, and then kind of turn it on and turn it off. But I really haven't had that issue. Sometimes though there isn't water, and sometimes I can't flush. But I think that's only happened to us 1 or 2 times. And again, basically it's cleaning out my tanks and this entire line. So now that I've let it run some, I'm going to take a quick peek. This one's a little heavier. And I don't know if you can see it from there. Basically the water is all running out clear. So I'm going to stop the pump for just a second. Sometimes when there's a stop and a start, there's a little more debris that will flush out. See what that did? And she's still nice and clear. So I'm actually going to turn off the water and I'll unhook this hose. And then all along I'm watching that to just make sure that I'm not pumping dry. I want to be pumping liquid all the time. You can see it's starting to really empty out. This only gets used for dumping. Once in a while I'll use it to fill up the bucket, but basically this is our dumping hose. And now you can see and hear everything sounds different. I'm going to shut off the pump. So now I don't have any more water going into the system and I'm ready to take care of my hose. And I always do it the same way. So I want to put my valve back on my Sani system. Now my gray tank valve is right here. I'm going to shut it, make sure it's shut good. Usually when I'm doing this, I'll check to make sure I don't have to lubricate anything. Every 3 or 4 times I'll lubricate the actual valves. And again, that one's shut nice. So my black and my gray are both shut. My dumping water line is put away. And the only thing I have left to do now is empty out my black line fully. Now, this is running downhill very nicely. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start inside the coach. I'm just gonna pick it up some and I can hear a little bit of liquid. Okay, do it again. Really just trying to make sure that all the liquid goes in the tank as opposed to staying in the line. Pick up, drain, and that's it. I got nothing. Now, when I put this away, other people have dumped here, so I'm always conscious of the fact that other people have used this space, and who knows what has happened. So I will take one of my little sanitizing wipes here. Walmart, super cheap, a couple bucks. And again, you know, it's just my preference. And I'm going to just kind of run it along the line. And I mean, this isn't perfect, but it does keep us pretty tidy. And then coil this up nicely in my bay. I tried a container, it didn't work. The coil just, if you just take your time to coil it, saves a lot of time and energy. Now this part of it here, I'll spend a little bit more time making sure it's much cleaner. And as you can see, there's no residual, there's no nothing. This part here, from here was in and around the discharge. So I'll make sure that's nice and clean. It looks wonderful, there's nothing coming out. But when I put this in my bay, I'm gonna make sure that this is sitting up inside the middle of the coil. So that way, I mean, there is like condensation and stuff. And if that is, it just can't dump out in my bay. So again, I'm gonna just kind of coil it up, set that in the middle, use a few of these on my hands. And then I'll give my hands a good scrub when I go inside. And that's it. Pretty simple process. I'll close up my bay and we are good to go to our next park.